Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend DG Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
Hi, this is Jeff Johnson. You're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
In brightest day,
in blackest nights,
No evil shall escape my sight.
but those who worship evil's might.
beware my power.
Green Lantern's light.
There you go. Charge that ring first. Anyway, welcome back to Sector 2814, the Green Lantern podcast. I am Phil. Joining me, as always, the master of the core. It is.
I am Will. Hey, everyone.
And we're back after our crossover last week with Justin doing the Avengers Justice League. We're back with more Judd Winick. Yes. The Black Circle Urban Knights crossover from Green Lantern 162 through 164 and Green Arrow 23 through 25.
But enough about that. How about our interview last night? That was awesome.
Oh, yes. I can't remember if it's coming out before or after, if it's this, it was the same week. But yes, kids, keep your eye out for Capes and Lunatics episode 294 for our interview with upcoming Green Lantern writer Jeremy Adams, who is writing The Flash currently.
And he is awesome. That was a hoot. We just got to hear about The Flash. We got to hear about Green Lantern. We got to hear about everything, and it was wonderful.
And you should download and listen to the episode on the podcast, but you guys, you have to watch the interview on YouTube, because as Jeremy's talking about, people need to get to know Hal Jordan and, all this stuff. You could just see the drool like coming out of Will's mouth. She's like, yeah.
I am a happy Hal Jordan fan, or I will be.
That's not too much longer. I mean,
yeah. Not too much longer. And then before then, we'll even hit a certain storyline in Green Lantern. So it's everything's coming up, Jordan.
One thing, wait a second. That's what I said. I think or I think we're doing Rebirth it's going to hit the podcast in May. I'm trying to remember. I mean, we might record it earlier, but I mean, it's going to be pretty damn close, Rebirth, and you're going to get an actual Hal Jordan monthly book again.
Yes. Well, and we're getting a Green Lantern monthly book again, which is awesome. It's been a while. Definitely been a while. But yeah, he was great to talk to, and he's just genuinely wonderful to talk to, and just so excited about what he's doing. So that was great.
Yes. Plus, he also worked on the Green Lantern animated series, also,
which is truly a wonderful series that should not have been canceled just because the movie sucked and they didn't sell action figures.
Exactly. Did you watch Quantum Leap last night after our interview?
I watched it tonight before our podcast.
Okay. What you think?
I think that I was not expecting who they think the mole is.
Oh yeah. My wife's like, "What?"
Wait, what? How is that possible? Okay, cool. Let's go with it. I'm down. Let's go.
But just the facility he leaps into, I'm like, I remember when Sam Beckett leaped in somewhere like that, and his memory was he was remembering all the people he leapt into. He was losing himself, and then
we haven't got up to that one
yet. Okay. I won't spoil it then.
It's 30 years old, Phil. You can spoil it. It's okay.
Well, no, at the end of the episode, he needs to get electroshock therapy. It was a season finale, so as he's getting shocked, a bolt of lightning hits as he's leaping.
Oh,
that's the cliffhanger. Yeah. And him and Al switch places. Yeah.
I was waiting for that when it came out. Yeah.
I was waiting for that to happen and be like, yeah.
That is cool. Very cool. I sort of remember that episode. I mean, the one that followed it. I don't necessarily remember the one before it. So nice. And we haven't talked since the last episode of Picard dropped.
Oh yes.
Okay. Spoilers. Seriously, you don't want to. You want to go into it cold, because what happens is is very unexpected and very, very. You just don't want to go. You want to go into it cold, okay?
Are you saying because of who shows up?
Yes, because of who shows up.
Because
yeah.
I didn't think until the episode aired, I didn't think I saw any spoiler headlines or anything about that character showing up. I was like,
No.
like really? Wow.
And
Actually,
then what they
surprised me.
did, that was, I was like, holy crap, that's literally like a 30-year-old dangling plot line that I always kind of wondered about,
Uh-huh.
and they just wrapped it up. I'm like,
Nice.
okay, cool, nice.
That's right, people. The character did the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. This character appeared, and then the thing happened, and then another thing happened, which was not so great, but I understand it.
I love the whole thing with I don't think this is a spoiler, but it's like, Picard's like, "Are you a changeling?" It's like, "Are you?" And they just unload their baggage on each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Nope, I guess not.
Yeah, you're too angry. No, you're not.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've seen more and more people saying it, and I am totally down. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I talked to him, but I'm totally down for a Captain Shaw spinoff on the Titan.
Just a dipshit from Chicago, right?
Yes. Yes. Please, we Paramount, whoever there, we need to make that happen with friend of the show.
This is Todd Stashwick, aka Captain Liam Shaw of the Starship Titan, and you are listening to Capes and Lunatics.
And he is like a huge Star Trek fan, like the rest of us. So now I just watch the episodes, and every time he runs into another character, I'm like, he's probably like, "Oh my god, I'm interacting," Because he said it was surreal sitting there, where it's like, he's talking to Patrick or Stewart, and then he's like, "Oh, Brent, come here and meet Todd Stashwick." He's like, and he's called over Brent Spiner. It's like, oh my god.
Nice. Yeah, that was a fun interview. I watched that one.
Yeah.
That was good.
As I said,
Very good.
I think we have the most original interview with him because yes, him and Rob Southgate, who did the interview with me, grew up with him. They went to high school together. So,
oh, nice, very nice. Well, yeah, he showed off his tattoo, which is a Titan, Star Trek Titan.
yes,
tattoo.
I know, I love that. He's like, I keep getting tattoos for the shows I'm on. He's like, we're gonna run out of space. Like, oh damn, that's a hard problem to have.
It's a good problem to have.
I'm gonna find space to tattoo this other popular show I'm on now. Oh no.
Are we doing Guy Gardner tonight or something, man?
No. I mean, I didn't know if we want to jump into this. I mean, you're the. All right, so yeah, kids. I mean, we're at the end of Judd Winick's run here.
Mm-hmm. And we were, and I know we were chatting about this, before we went live, but what a way to go out, and I don't necessarily mean that as a compliment because there's so much. First off, let's talk about the art. I think the art worked really well for the Green Arrow segments because it was dark, it was gritty, it wasn't sleek and sci-fi. It was gritty because we're talking about drug dealing and vices and gun runners and things like that. But the same artist, Charlie Adler, who's a really good artist, did the art for the Green Lantern sections too. And Green Lantern did not look like Green Lantern or feel like the Green Lantern that we have been accustomed to reading since episode 1, right?
It's so weird too because it's like Judd Winick even kind of throws his own stuff out because remember where we were at 2 weeks ago when Jade's like, I want to go back to Earth, and Kyle's was basically going to stay in space and stuff. But meanwhile, the thing opens up with them like a club together. It's like
exactly on Earth. I'm like, what? Yeah, it just feels this whole storyline just kind of feels disconnected from everything that came before.
I remember
it really
every
does.
time I reread this, I mean, I didn't remember some of this, but I remember even reading this the first time thinking, oh, we're going to get some kind of editor's note that says this takes place before such and such issue of Green Lantern, and we didn't.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and he says something about, now that I've decided to patrol the sector, I come back and it's a long distance relationship. I'm like, okay, but it's still, I mean, I don't know. It really does feel disconnected. And I get Winick was wanting to make the relationship between Kyle and Ollie different, but they're not going to start fighting immediately. I mean, it was just that just felt so off to me. I was like, what, doesn't feel like Kyle. One, Ollie's a hothead. I can, whatever, we can deal with that. But Kyle, that just didn't sound like Kyle, and he didn't behave like Kyle. I mean, at least that from when I was reading it.
I mean, if you want to give us a quick fight scene in the beginning, that's one thing. But just like every issue, it's like, oh God, shut up already.
Yeah.
And then Connor just like trying to separate the two, and it's just
Yeah.
it's like shouldn't you maybe mature? Because Ollie even says a few times about how he died and came back. Shouldn't that mature you a little bit?
Yeah, and Kyle, literally says that he's been a Green Lantern for years now, and he's more mature. In fact, he's been acting much more mature up until this point, right?
Yes.
So I don't know this.
And he had the powers of a god. Remember what
Yeah.
Peter Venkman and Jeremy Adams said? If someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Always say yes. Yeah, and I mean, okay, we do get some callbacks because we get the introduction of Amon Sur, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Who is the son of Abin Sur,
Yes.
who is apparently the head of the Black Circle. Is it Black Circle?
Yes. Yes.
Black Circle, which is an evil gun running, drug running organization that,
Basically the intergalactic mob.
yeah, and he, kills someone straight up in front of us and kills several other people kind of off screen. So don't be a deadbeat dad, Albin Sir. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think. Well, I mean, unless he's lying, I think Alman Sir even says he's just like Abin Sir didn't even know my mother was pregnant and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I guess is why he didn't come and visit him as a ghost.
Yeah, exactly. Call out to the Spectre series that still hasn't been reprinted. But I got the impression that, well, it felt to me like, well, Abin Sur died years and years, like 20 years ago, right? That can't obviously be in continuity how long ago he died. So his son would have been 9 or 10 or even older, at the time that he died. So if it just seemed like, well, he never knew about me, well, then, well, I don't know. It just seems weird. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's so weird. Because it seems like he says his father didn't know he existed, but meanwhile, it's like, oh, how could he pick it like the Green Lantern Corps over me? Because he didn't know you existed.
Yeah, and they draw parallels between Kyle and him. Kyle didn't know his father, but he's a stand-up guy, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, this does definitely.
Okay, here's a point. Let's see, because I mean, I want your perspective on this. For a guy who didn't show up in any way, shape, or form in this story, Hal Jordan affected this story a lot.
He did.
I mean, one, Oliver Queen. You're not Hal. Hal Jordan. Cow. I
Yeah.
never tried to replace Hal Jordan. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then even Almond Sir's like, I should have gotten Abin Sir's ring, not that Hal Jordan. So
who destroyed the core? Blah blah blah. Yeah.
So for a guy who didn't even like show up in flashback or anything, I mean, Hal Jordan had a lot to do with this episode.
Yeah, and I don't know it, and of course, this is Judd Winick's, swan song on Green Lantern, and we've talked at length about how this run maybe doesn't measure up to perhaps Winick's later work, because this is it just I think that there are issues with the execution of of lots of the issues leading up to, and then the execution of this, it just, again, it just feels so cut off and separate from everything else Green Lantern.
It almost, now that I think about it, it seems like a big advertisement because, again, the other writer's Ben Robb. It's Judd Winick and Ben Robb, and these two are going to switch books here.
Yeah.
Judd Winnick's going to jump the Green Arrow, Ben Robb's going to jump the Green Lantern. Because when, like, at the end, spoilers, when Cal's like, I'm going to go track down the Black Circle. That's Ben Robb. I feel like that's Ben Robb saying, okay, here's what we're going to do in the Green Lantern book now that I'm taking over. And I don't know. I don't think Judd Winick really told us what he's going to do in Green Arrow, but it's like, oh, hey, look, I'm writing some Green Arrow. If you like what I'm writing, come over.
And we only get Ben Robb for I think 11 issues, right? 65, 67, 69.
Yeah, until Ron Mars comes back. 65 to 65 to 175. Yeah.
Yeah, 165 to 175. So 11 issues.
Yeah.
And then we get Ron Mars returning to kind of put a bow and, do a coda to his run essentially, and to Kyle, which, we're going to be, we still have not announced our special guest for that episode. We'll have to do that next week. We'll have to do that next week.
Okay.
Or the week after. Because when is that going to be?
Hold on, let me look up because we'll have to see too if someone's traveling or not.
That is true.
Sorry, I'm gonna get to the schedules. I had too much podcasting crap on my computer.
You only do like 1 or 10 podcasts, Phil. What are you talking about?
I know. I'm like the American Ray.
Yeah.
I love that.
And Ray's the Australian Phil.
Oh boy. The Ron Mars episode is gonna hit May 5th. So we usually record about 2 weeks before. So it'll probably be somewhere like second or third week of April. So, yeah.
Okay. So we still have time. We can wait and we can announce it whenever you want, man. But it might be too early right now.
I mean, I don't care. I mean, if you want to announce, you're the one who did the legwork. You're just like, here.
Okay. Well, cool. We'll go ahead and announce it then. We're gonna have Dan from the Mosaic Comics podcast on the show for us to do the Ron Mars stuff, because Dan does some really good Green Lantern podcast content, and he's a big fan of Kyle. And I thought it would be interesting, and Phil agrees that, forget about the Hal Jordan guy for a second. Having Phil and Dan on to discuss kind of just the length and breadth of Kyle's tenure as a Green Lantern and how that influenced what has happened since. I think it was just kind of a really cool idea, because we can look back on it all at that point, kind of like Ron Mars is doing with his final 6 issues of the series. And then that gives us a really good launch pad for the very next episode, which makes this Green Lantern fan extraordinarily happy.
Let me see.
What happens in that episode, Phil? I can't remember. Can you tell me?
Hold on. Let me not burst your bubble, but I'm trying to remember. There might be something in between there. Well, we're doing that JSA arc. Yeah. They're sorry. Yes, no.
2 weeks later.
It's the Ron Mars arc, that JSA. Yes, and then something. Yes.
Then something. That something might be, I don't know, Green Lantern Rebirth. Yes. Sorry. But yeah, so lots of really cool stuff coming up.
Yes.
I've said before, and revisiting Green Lantern, from the beginning of the 3rd volume, from 1990, and rereading all of those issues that we've read, going through Action Comics Weekly, going through all of that stuff, and going through He Who Will Not Be Named's run, and then Emerald Twilight, the beginning of Ron Mars', super long tenure on the book, which, you just don't even see today. I mean, that was 6+ years that he was, on the book as the writer. And then, coming into the Winick run, it's weird because, I was reading back then and I was hugely, of course, because I love Hal Jordan, I was hugely disappointed with the book the direction took with Emerald Twilight. And honestly, I didn't give the Ron Mars run a fair shake. So going back and reading it now, yeah, I didn't give it a fair shake back then. It's good, solid superhero stories. And, Mars is really good at what he does, and he did it really well for a very long time. And then I didn't read the Winick run at that point, so I was looking forward to going back and reading it because I'd heard really good things. Judd Winick is, a good writer. But, we've talked about this again and again. It's just his run has been overall really disappointing. We got the big long Ion arc that, I don't know, some of it, there's good stuff in here for his entire run, but so much of it, I think, just kind of fell flat for me, at least.
Well, that's like the other thing. I mean, I guess maybe it's just the weakness of like comics from the big two, but it's just like Oliver Queen dying and coming back to life. Cal had the power of Ion. He had the powers of a god. His consciousness kind of increased. And again, he's normal. A normal superhero human again. But it's just like these two shouldn't be fighting like children when they first see each other.
Exactly. That just did not ring true for me at all. And then, I was of course not reading Green Arrow at the time, and these are the issues of Green Arrow the only issues of Green Arrow that I've read in quite a while since the original, Kevin Smith, Phil Hester, I guess, run. But for the most part, Green Arrow seemed to be, cantankerous, but that seemed even a little extreme for his behavior,
Yeah. It's so weird because it's like they had Oliver Queen, like, when he came back from the dead, he was like more. I thought he had his head screwed on straight more, but then all of a sudden he wouldn't do stuff like this. He would fight with Kyle, or he would cheat on Black Canary, or it's just again, and it's just like, like I said, I don't know if that's just the weakness of like Marvel and DC Comics, where it's like you can only get so much character growth and then it gets like wound back. Like
Yeah.
my biggest pet peeve, the whole Spider-Man marriage thing.
Yes. Well, let me ask you this. Would this, if you were not a Green Lantern reader at the time, and you picked this book up because you were a Green Arrow reader, would this have made you want to read Green Lantern? I mean, I know that's not a fair question, but
I can't. I don't know if I can honestly answer either way, but I know if I read this, if this was my first exposure to Green Lantern, I might be like, "Oh, that guy seems pretty immature."
And we get the introduction of a cool character, the son of Abin Sur, but I mean, turn him into a really, really bad guy is certainly a way to go, right?
Yeah. Okay, I got another question. I mean, like towards the end, when like Cal and Oliver are like storming this spaceship and stuff.
Yeah.
Where's Jade at? We kind of like halfway through this storyline, Jade just kind of disappears.
He's just back taking a nap or something, whatever. I mean, you're right. Where,
another person with superpowers. I mean, we get more of Connor in this, and again, I'd like Connor as a character, but he doesn't have powers. I mean,
we also get Black Canary.
Yeah, for like what, part of one issue? Yeah,
part of one issue. Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. somebody else has a ring now that works, and it's supposed to be guarding Earth. Where's Jon Stewart?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
They even mentioned Jon Stewart again. Yeah, you could have Jade, you could have Jon Stewart, both there.
Alan Scott. I mean, if you really wanted to, I mean, I get they wanted to focus this on Kyle and Ollie. Okay,
Yeah.
great, but it feels so disconnected because they have all of these other relationships, and if there's drug running happening, with bleach happening on the Earth, shouldn't Jon Stewart know about it? I mean, it's his kind of job to protect the Earth because Kyle left him in charge. I mean, I don't know. It's like Winick almost ignores most of the previous issues that he's done just to tell this story.
Yeah, again, it's like it's not like he's ignoring someone else's writing. This is his writing.
Exactly. And I mean, I just don't understand it. And well, Ben Robb has written a few issues before that they're not bad issues. It's just they're not necessarily that memorable. One of them was where he broke into prison, I think.
Yeah,
Was
the
that a Robb
fill-in
issue?
stuff, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the fill-ins
stuff. Yeah.
between Mars and Winnick, I think, is what he wrote. So, I don't know. This little,
And
mini arc.
and again, like I've mentioned it before, but it just seems weird. I mean, again, there's a lot in these issues, but it's like maybe one page or like a couple panels, or even just mentioning, "Oh, hey, we just got back from the hospital from visiting Terry" or something.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because
Instead they're partying at a club. It's like,
yeah. And I don't think we actually see Terry again
I don't
unless
know.
it's because the last time we saw him, he was talking to John that said, "Teach me how to fight."
Yeah, that's the last time
I
we saw him.
don't think we see him again.
I can't remember.
Period, do we?
I can't remember if we ever. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I haven't reread the upcoming stuff in many years, but I can't remember I can't remember.
What was Terry's last name?
Is it Berg? Is it Berg?
I think so.
See, kids, now we're googling.
Now we're looking. Let's see. He appeared where?
Oh wait, okay. I'm seeing something in Green Lantern 170, so we might.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, it seems like he will be back. I'm trying to. I can't remember how big a capacity though.
It looks like 129. Oh, okay, good. He is coming up in 165, 168, 170, 171, and then 174 and 175. So he's in there right before Ron Mars comes back on. So
Yep.
okay, good. That's not just going to be something that's left out there to never be addressed again. All right, excellent.
So yeah, Rob will give us something. Like I said, I can't remember what though. So
Mm-hmm. We'll just have to wait and see, right?
yeah.
Let's see. I do like that they reference that, hey, when I was God, I made changes to my ring. So, one, it doesn't work for anybody else. Two, I can access it even when it's not on my finger. And three, I can bring it back. So,
Yeah, how'd you feel about that? Yeah, how'd you feel about that? Basically, they followed Almond Sir through the ship, and it's
yeah, I mean, it was.
and now the ring only works for Cal.
The ring always only worked for Kyle. Well, Kyle or Hal, right?
Yeah.
So, or his descendants, if we go by some of the annuals.
But just the way he said it, it almost felt like he was saying, "Oh yeah, that was one of the upgrades I did," and I'm just like, "No, that was kind of
That was
always the
from the
deal."
beginning, yeah. And okay, I did like one snide remark that Ollie made about the new costume. I thought that was.
Oh yeah. Well, again, everyone's kind of made things, comments about that costume.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why you come up with a new costume and then just have like every character in your story like make fun of it. So
Yeah. It does seem an odd choice to make, but whatever.
unless they're just trying to be meta and they saw the fans like not liking the costume or something.
Yeah, who knows at this point. So Winick started in 129.
Yes.
And he wrote all the way up to 164. Correct? So basically about 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't sit there. Yeah, I guess it doesn't feel like it, but yeah, I guess so.
So I mean, unless you want to talk more about this story, I guess we could go back and kind of just talk a little bit about the run as a whole, and because there are a few things that I remember about the run, and I'm curious, when you think about the Winick run, what are the first 3 or 4 things that come to your mind?
Ion.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Running through the issue list. Nero.
Yep. Okay, you've hit everything that I could think of. And the thing with Nero, well, we better kill him. That's what I think of when I think of Nero. I'm like, that's what? No, just no. And then,
but humanity sucks. But let's kill Nero.
Yeah. And then the Ion story. I mean, it was so much buildup to get us something that's really cool, right? It gets us the central power battery back. It gets us the Guardians back.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, that seems to have come kind of out of left field, because it wasn't really something that, it didn't feel like that was something that they were building to. Just like, I'm gonna just do this now. Wait, we didn't know you could do that, right? I mean, so
all right. So, all right, explain this to me. Cal was able to reignite the central battery. Why couldn't Ganthet do that?
because things change after
Or
rebirth.
it was the power left over from Parallax. And Parallax absorbed the central battery originally, so.
Okay, I have a question for you. Now no, never mind. I was gonna say, where's Parallax now? He's still grafted to Hal's soul, even as the Spectre. Okay, forget the question then, because
We don't know that.
Shh, it's a giant yellow fear bug. Shh.
But no, I just thought of this. The other thing that bugged me about this story, this Black Circle story, or it's remember what we've been getting the last like couple months. It's Cal left Earth because he was sick of humanity after Terry got beat.
Mhm.
But we opened this story. Him and Jane are with a bunch of people in a crowded nightclub.
Yeah, I mean, it feels, again, it feels so disconnected, because hey,
Again,
we're in space, we're in space, we're in space, we're in space, because Earth sucks. We're in space. Hey, we're back on Earth. It's okay.
and again, it's like if he's back, fine. But I mean, if he was like sitting around the apartment with her, I could see that. But it's like, oh yeah, I've lost my faith in these people. But meanwhile, I'm in a very crowded club with teeming with humanity.
Because that's where the bad guys are going to attack.
Yeah.
So, I mean, plot-wise, I understand it, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in relation to the rest of the series.
And I guess we needed to start this on Earth so we'd have an excuse to bring Green Arrow in, because I'm just like, well, if he was still off in space, he could have just run into these guys in space, but
and then come back to Earth. Yeah, I mean it just seems a little clumsy, right? Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair.
And it's just is it also like conflicting writing styles, because we do have two writers on this?
I don't know, because I felt like the writers on the issues, it seemed pretty seamless. I was like, am I reading Green Arrow or Green Lantern? I don't know. At this point, because it was 6 issues, right? I don't know what I'm on. I'm just And the other part of that was the artist was the same across all 6 issues.
Yeah, Charlie Adler, who penciled and inked it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a really, really good artist. It's just that I really don't think his style was a fit for Green Lantern. I know that, again, they wanted something grittier because, we're doing
Green Arrow,
essentially a Green Arrow drug running story, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it did. I don't think it did the Green Lantern segments of this crossover any favors, because it didn't feel like a Green Lantern book to me. I mean, and Kyle was using it to make, Amazon women and giant teddy bears and stuff. So it wasn't the way he used the ring. It was just the overall feel of the book. It doesn't have that sleek sci-fi feel that, every issue previous to this has had. And I would make the same argument. Mark Badger is a really good artist, but that issue where there's a demon at the football game, what was that, 37?
Oh, yeah.
So that doesn't feel like a Green Lantern book either. It felt off, by he who we will not name, but
it almost felt like a Guy Gardner issue.
Yeah, I mean, art is, of course, extraordinarily important, but not just the ability to tell a good story. The art needs to fit kind of thematically with, the character. And, Green Lantern's a sci-fi book.
Yeah.
Sci-fi is sleek, not dark and gritty. At least Green Lantern has not been dark and gritty for the last 160 issues,
And again, I don't know if it's just like conflicting genres too, because again, Cal has been off in space. It's very sci-fi. And then I was reading the Green Arrow series. Up to this point, it had been very grounded, down to earth,
Gotcha.
So it's like, is that? I mean, I guess maybe Ben Robb wanted this because this is going to jump into space after this, and Cal's going to be going after the Black Circle. But I'm just like, we're always worried about overkill in situations like this. But wouldn't it have been any better if this had just been like an Earth gang running drugs, and they I don't know, had like a bunch of like metahuman enforcers or something, or
I hadn't thought of it from that angle. But you're right. It didn't really necessarily do, because I hadn't been reading Green Arrow, but if it had been really street level,
yeah,
and suddenly you've got guys with blasters and aliens in it, it didn't really do. We kind of got the worst of both worlds, right? Yeah. In combining the two, because it was not what we were expecting from a Green Lantern story, and it wasn't what we were expecting from a Green Arrow story.
Yeah.
At least in the books at that time.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Because it started in Green Arrow's book. So tell me if this works. Oliver, and maybe if Connor's with him, they run into this drug Oliver's tracking this drug dealing gang. It's like, oh, I do this every day. But then meanwhile, they have like these powerful metahuman enforcers or something, and that's where you get the drama where maybe Connor's like, no, we need to call Cal. This is more Cal's territory, at least with the metahumans. And Oliver's like, no, don't call him. That's where you get that drama and that strife where it's just like, Oliver doesn't want to be calling calling in Cal and
And
one, he doesn't want to ask for help, and two, he doesn't want to ask from Hal's successor. And
yeah, and how random is it that Amon Sur flies down near Green Arrow while he's taking a day off? I mean,
and again, did he do that intentionally? Well, if he does,
Yeah.
but they don't ever say it.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's just this. This hasn't been my favorite.
Yeah,
my favorite storyline in Green Lantern or Green Arrow for that matter. But that is all he wrote, to coin a phrase, for
Yes.
Judd Winick. And then we get 11 issues of Ben Robb, who, like I said, we've seen before on the title doing fill-ins. I'm curious to see what he'll do over an arc, but it's not like he's going to get to do a really long form story here because he only gets 11 issues. And then we get Ron Mars back for the final 6 of the series.
Yep. So, but yeah,
I mean, what is that? 2 or 3 shows dedicated to the Ben Robb issues?
3 episodes. Yeah.
Wow, that's not many.
No, that's what I was going to say. Except for that JSA arc, the week before Rebirth, it's straight Green Lantern issues from now until that JSA one. So
nice, very nice. Okay, well, let me ask you this. If this was a crossover to boost sales, one, I wonder, did it work? And if it wasn't a crossover to boost sales, but to just have the writers trade titles, was it really worth it?
I don't know. Was it? It's so weird because were numbers on Green. I mean, we've talked about this before. Were numbers on Green Lantern down because? I mean, I don't think anything from this crossover continues in Green Arrow. So it's like, oh, hey, the watch Cal track down the Black Circle. I got to keep reading Green Lantern. So I mean, it really only seemed to benefit the ongoing Green Lantern book. I mean, like I said, I don't think.
Yeah, because there's really 17 issues left after this. I mean, yeah, that's a year, almost a year and a half, but I wonder if the writing was on the wall at this point. I don't know the answer to that.
Again, the sales might be down because if the writing's not on the wall yet, it's going to be soon. Where it's like, oh, hey, we're bringing back Hal Jordan.
Yeah, and let's at some point before issue 181, they reach out to Ron Mars and say, hey, we're canceling the book. Hal Jordan's coming back. Can you do the last 6 issues of the series? So the writing's got to be on the wall within the next several months of the title, I would think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder how much notice he had because remember, I mean, they didn't give him much notice before Emerald Twilight, right? I think they were just like, oh, yeah, we need.
Yeah. So this is a really weird spot for Green Lantern because it's, it feels like the slow end is coming, right? On the book. And that's a weird place to be, weird place that we've been in recently, in that, once Rebirth launches, Green Lantern becomes a top tier title for DC for, a decade, if not more, because they have multiple Green Lantern titles going, Green Lantern, Red Lanterns, New Guardians, Sinestro gets a book, Larfleeze gets a book. There's just a Green Lantern Corps gets a book. And then it kind of, within the last 5 or 6 years, it dwindled down. We got Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp on a single the Green Lantern title. And then when that finished after 2 years, we got the, Jeffrey Thorne book, which ended with number 12. and we haven't had anything since. So I don't know. I'd be curious to see, what were the numbers trending down for the series, and was the swap of the writers a way to try to, get those numbers back up, and then it ultimately didn't work? I mean, I don't know. It's all supposition.
Again, I mean, I don't think the numbers are trending up if they change course completely without Jordan.
Yeah.
Again,
Exactly.
I mean, supposedly that's why we got rid of him in the first place, because the numbers were down then.
Yeah. This is, it's weird reading these stories for the first time. It really is. Knowing what's about to happen,
Yeah.
It's, with one eye on the future, but I guess. But I don't know. My gut tells me that the purpose of this was to increase sales. I would be curious if it did, because I felt like it kind of did a little bit of disservice to both titles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, like we said, I don't think either main character came off the greatest.
Yeah. Well, and Kyle has the ring, and Amundsen gets the drop on him with a rope. Really? I get the plot required that Green Lantern be saved by Green Arrow. I understand that, but it just seems a really odd way to do it. I don't know. I don't know. I got nothing else on it, man.
But he's been Green Lantern for years, Will.
I know. He had ion power. Why wouldn't he have a shield around himself? Or,
He contained the supernova, but he's about to get killed by a rope.
exactly. Not even a yellow rope, mind
No.
you. Just a rope. It's not even a special rope.
And then the thing, like when him and Amundsen, before he knows Amundsen is the villain, they're talking about the ring, and he's talking about his upgrades, and they were, the ring will never fully run out, and Amundsen says something about the 24-hour limit, and Cal says, "Oh, you get it." And I'm like, wait a minute, Cal never had the 24-hour. That's another thing too. I'm like, shouldn't Cal in the beginning wasn't Cal like, "Oh yeah, I don't have that problem."
Yeah, I don't even need a battery.
Cal should have
Oh
been
wait,
like,
maybe I do.
how? I mean, was that a thing? So Winick wouldn't have to worry about charging the ring. But I'm like, how do you have a permanent charge?
I don't know.
It's
I
almost
really
like making
don't.
the ring its own battery, or it's like it's its own
Yeah.
battery.
Which, and full props to Ron Mars and Daryl Banks or whoever came up with this, but the gas tank metaphor for the ring is so much better than this arbitrary 24-hour limit.
Yes, it's
right?
still there to this day.
Yeah, I mean that's really the one thing that has endured from Emerald, from Kyle as Green Lantern, is that the ring has a gas tank on it. You got to keep it full or close up, and then that influenced Rebirth on, because you would get these great 30% charge or whatever
Yes.
captions on the rings and everything, which I loved, which was just great.
Yep.
I don't know, Phil. You seem kind of disappointed in this one, Phil.
I don't know what to say about this one. Again, like you said, I mean, it's not the best ending for Winick. And again,
And
it's like he doesn't even reference like anything else he's done, pretty much, except for like maybe a sentence about Cal being an Ion back, a few months back. But he really doesn't reference anything else.
Yeah, they don't even mention Terry, which was a big reason they left Earth in the first place, but they're back on Earth, and it's like they haven't left. So,
Again, just a line of like, oh, we saw Terry, but we needed to get out and do something besides be in
Mhm.
that hospital room. But it's, and again, just the sentence like, "Oh, I came back to the Earth for the weekend to spend time with my girlfriend," but
Yeah, or John's off with the league, which is why he can't
yes,
help, or
yes.
or something. Just to show that there's still all of this connectivity, because again, this thing is just like its own thing. It just stand alone,
Remember the last time
and
they went
probably,
dance? Remember the last time they went dancing? They went with John and Marin.
yeah, and I'm this thing stands alone, doesn't reference anything outside of it, and I don't feel like it's ever going to be referenced again. Although it will, because Rob is going to take it and go after the Black Circle,
Yeah, the Black
into.
Circle is going to get referenced. Yeah, yeah.
But I mean,
And
I mean,
even Jade's these friends who we've never seen before.
yeah, and we'll see Amon Sur again,
Oh yeah.
post rebirth, and in the book. So that comes out of it, but you know, yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm
And
with you.
again, like we talked about before, it's like there was no continuity between the Green Lantern book and the Spectre book. When the Spectre book was running, because had this happened then, I'd be like, well, would Hal visit Amon Sur?
Yeah, or
Even before this storyline, to be like, "What are you doing?"
your dad's right here. Would you like to talk to him? I mean,
He's been
wait, he's already been
reincarnated.
reincarnated. You need to
I
go
was gonna
back
say,
to your own
"Here,
past.
hold this baby." Well, whose baby is this? Well, it's your reincarnated father.
Sorry, kill the baby. He obviously has father issues, so.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I, I just don't have I'm with you. I don't have a whole lot to say about this, but the fact that I really didn't enjoy it, and I don't think that it was a good crossover, in that it felt like it did a disservice to both titles that were doing the crossover.
And I don't know if we were just killing for time, but did this thing need to be 6 issues?
Yeah, that was a good point. I mean, honestly,
I mean, I guess maybe they wanted even numbers for each side, but you could have done this in 4, right?
yeah. And the fact that it's a completely standalone story. The artist did all 6 issues. It kind of has me wondering if it was done much earlier and
That's what I'm
just
saying.
was.
It had that feel to me of like I was waiting
Mhm.
for an editor's note to say, "Oh, this takes place before Green Lantern 153 or 154."
Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty. Bye. Goodbye, Judd Winick.
Yeah. Good luck on newer titles that are now 20 years old, but whatever. Okay, we wish you well.
I mean, was it just this storyline, or do you think a lot of his plots and stuff was it inconsistent? Was his run inconsistent, or
It was uneven, I think. It was
okay,
really
uneven? Yeah,
uneven.
that's
Yeah.
the word. Yeah, yeah, uneven.
It Because I think there's some good things in his run, but then there are some really, things that pop into our head, like the Nero thing. What? That's off the wall. The build up to Ion was handled really slowly at first,
Yeah.
and then it happened all of a sudden, and then it was done all of a sudden, and we got a new central power battery that. Is anybody using it? I mean, I don't know. We don't really know what happened with
Y-
that.
Yeah, especially since you have a ring that could make duplicates of itself. Why aren't you out there actively recruiting?
Yeah, I mean,
Or can
why isn't
Ganthet?
John or why isn't John out there actively recruiting?
Or
You
Ganthet,
know? Mm-hmm. Well, he's raising the youngins,
I
the
guess.
younglings. I there's I think that there are some. First off, Terry's story is extraordinarily important at the time that it was released. It it was a story that needed to be told. For Winnick to tell that story, though, we had to get everything around it right? Which is the Ion story and this.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? I think probably, yeah. I mean, I feel like we got mediocre stories to get a really important story for for people that needed that story, right?
Yeah. And again, it's like I can't remember what Ben Robb does with it going forward, but it's like the Terry stuff. It seems like Winnick did it, and then it's like, oh, okay, that happened.
Yeah, and we're not. He's barely dealt with it, and then having Kyle run off, that's a choice that he's had the character make.
And then it really doesn't help you resolve anything with that story either if your main character's not around that character now.
Yeah, because we've seen Terry like a panel or two.
Yeah, we've seen Cal visit him via projection, and then he says to John, "Teach me how to fight."
Fight. Yeah, exactly. So I think not following up on that.
Or did Judd Winick think he was going to have more time, but he ran out of time?
That's possible too. I mean, who knows? This is comics, right? But yeah, I mean, having that story, in Green Lantern, I think it was important, to just show, you know, this is what people have to deal with. This is what they have to deal with, and I think that's really important. But I feel like it could have used more follow up too,
Yeah.
because it was just like done, and then boom, we moved on to other stuff.
All right, I have a difficult question for you.
Hal Jordan.
No. No, we've done a few green. Cal has done a couple Green Arrow team ups. There was what
Mhm.
3 with Connor.
Yeah. Hmm.
How did this one rank compared to those other ones?
This is the worst of the 3.
Oh, nice.
I mean,
Even okay, so even the hate crimes one was better than this.
I feel like it was because it was more. It was like it was like 4 issues, right? It was
No,
short, sweet,
I think it
and
was 3. There was 1 Green
oh,
Lantern and 2 Green Arrows. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was more condensed, and it wasn't great by any stretch. But this was 6 issues of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean,
all the other ones I think were what 3 or 4 issues. Yeah, this was 6.
and the first one I think Mars did, right? Was that the
Yeah, that's the one. Remember where it's like, oh
looking
hey,
for his father?
I'm your father. No, I'm his brother.
Yeah, I'm your uncle. I would put that one at the top, hate crimes, and then this one.
And then didn't we get another one somewhere in there? Or am I thinking of the hate crimes one? I thought. Oh, the one with the Flash, the on the cruise ship.
Oh yeah. I still think that was better than this one.
Yeah. Oh, then we kind of got another one. Remember when young Hal comes back from the past and teams up with Connor?
I kind of remember that it was Emerald Knights, right?
Yeah. We only covered the
Yeah.
one part. Yeah, but yeah, there was like one Green Lantern and 1 Green Arrow issue. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, I get that the Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Hard Traveling Heroes is this legendary story that you that writers kind of want to revisit maybe in some way, or at least reference, or maybe try to add to, or something. But and I say this with all due respect to Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams, they were groundbreaking for their time, but that time was 50 years ago. Okay,
Yeah.
they they have not aged well because comics, the craft of and I feel like this is more around the writing has gotten better, in the last 5 decades. Neil Adams is Neil Adams. Okay, I mean, his art is Neil Adams, right? But there's a certain lack of subtlety to those stories, in Hard Traveling Heroes that was I'm fairly certain done on purpose at the time because comics had never done anything like that before. But it's 50 years later, and yeah, we've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and we comics creators, I think, we're standing on the shoulders of those giants and making better stuff now. I don't know if I hope that's not heretical, but
yeah, I just think with the Hard Traveling Heroes, I don't know if back then they thought they had they couldn't be subtle, they had to beat people over the head with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that hadn't been done before, and it's basically just like, wake up, dummy,
Yeah.
this is important.
Mm-hmm. But it's still talked about 50 years later, so it's important and it's influenced a lot. But the problem I have with it is that there wasn't really a thematic or a character-driven reason for those two characters to be together, right?
Yeah.
It was artificial, and it was artificial because they were doing something specifically, because But then they've tried to keep putting them back together, and I feel like it's fine for them to be friends, but they're not going to hang out and have adventures together because they're on drastically different levels of not just power, but experience at this point.
Yeah.
Universal galactic experience versus I've shot more people with a bow and arrow, right? So that's a little flip, I guess, but I mean, I feel like both characters have moved on from that time. We should stop going back to that.
Yeah. Again, it's like they want that classic team up, but does it work when one of them is younger than the other one? Because I think at Hal and Ollie work, Connor and Kyle work, but
not the other.
You swap one or the other, it doesn't work as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we might end up with a fist fight between two of them. I don't know. Yeah.
Which again, it is weird because like one's like old enough probably to be the other one's dad, and they're getting into a fist fight.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It does not. I really think that this crossover didn't do either title any favors,
No,
or either character any favors either.
Again, I don't know if it was just advertising for the writer swap or what, but
Mm-hmm.
but that I'm trying to remember because I have the floppies. I read this on the app, but I'm like, I don't think there was ever like even a big announcement in the book. It's like, hey, we're switching, so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember, unless they mentioned it in like the letters page or something, but I don't remember any like two page of big Ben, this is coming, and
Yeah.
now he's already gone. So
yeah, I hope I really wanted Winick to succeed, and this to be, and I really would, I wanted Rob to succeed. You don't wish for someone to fail at something,
no, especially when you love the franchise, you don't want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Was I happy when Rebirth was announced? You bet, because I love Hal Jordan, but I feel like the death of the title with Kyle, at the head, kind of was like death by 1,000 cuts, right?
Yeah.
We got, this small change and then this small change. We got a new costume. We got this small change and this small, and then finally
And it doesn't help when you take them out into space and you take them out of the JLA book either.
Yeah, exactly. Which did great things for Jon Stewart.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. But it's like, you want Cal to succeed in his book, but all of a sudden, this other place he appears every month too. All of a sudden, you're giving him one less appearance too. So people, it's easier to forget that. Oh, hey, oh yeah.
He kind of got strangely isolated, from the rest of, the JLA, his supporting cast, and
yeah, because off in space, I mean, no Alan, no John, really,
no Jade now,
more or less, unless Jade, yeah, it's.
And then we weren't really even, we don't see Gant at every issue. We don't see the Young Guardians. We don't see the Zamarans. Sorry, that's a callback to our interview yesterday. We don't see, we don't see any of that. It's just, it becomes really easy, since if each issue stands alone, it becomes really easy not to get the next issue because, hey, I'm not going to miss anything, right? Because it stands alone.
Yeah, now that we mentioned that, I mean, yeah, what do they expect when you're literally having your main character just like shouting into a vacuum?
Yeah. He is in a vacuum.
Exactly. Please. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a slow, march to the final issue. And I'll be honest, I'm curious to see what Ben Rob's going to do for us, on the title, because I haven't read these issues. And I have not read the final 6 issues by Ron Mars, and I'm genuinely looking forward to those.
Oh, you've never read them?
Never read them. Nope.
Ooh.
So I'm curious. I mean, I feel like, a writer of Mars's caliber will, kind of put a bow on everything he did, and this is, hey, I'm going to condense the core of my run into 6 issues. Here it is.
Yeah, I'm interested to I don't remember that whole thing either, but I do remember he brings back one thing from his first run with Cal, and I'm interested to see what you think of it.
Okay.
And I'm interested to see what I think, because like I said, I can't remember half the context of it either. So.
Cool.
All right, so I think we're done, aren't we?
I think we're done. I think we've beat this one to death.
Burn it with fire. All right, well, I guess you know where we're going next, kids. Yes, next week we're going to do Green Lantern 165 through 167.
Cool. By Ben Robb.
Yeah, the first three issues of Ben Robb's. Yep. Then
do we know who's doing the art on those?
Oh, I forget.
But it's more a superhero style.
Yeah.
Not this dark, gritty. Okay. More
yeah,
sleek sci-fi. Yeah. Gotcha.
And then, of course, in 2 weeks, Green Lantern 168 through 170, and then followed by Green Lantern 171 through 175. And then we'll get to the Ron Mars stuff, Green Lantern 176 through 181. And then, like I said, after that, we'll get the JSA 60 through 62. And then we're going to end the podcast. No, I'm kidding. No! Can you imagine? Captain's like, no, well, I think I'm done after that JSA.
Okay, sure, whatever. It's not like there's anything that cool happens, after that, right?
No, of course. After that, we'll get the Green Lantern Rebirth, of course.
Woohoo!
All right. So, yeah, kids, send your thoughts. Email us, CapesandLunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And remember, you can find all the Capes and Lunatics episodes, social media, merchandise, Patreon, everything at tubespace.io/Capes and Lunatics Podcast Network. That's tubespace.io/Capes and Lunatics Podcast Network. All right. Mr. Will Allred, where can people master the core, master the quantum zone? Where can people find you and your podcast and your comics work? And
well, you can find me. Yeah, and I love Hal Jordan. You can find me at Walred. That's at WALLRED at Gmail and Twitter and all the other social media places, I'm sure, as well. If you'd like to read the comics that I write, you can check out Crossover Division at crossoverdivision.com. The 4th issue has been completely fulfilled, except for those stragglers who still have not filled out their surveys. And we will be launching. Tentative plans are to launch April 11th for a Crossover Division Volume 1 Fictions and Other Truths hardcover, which is going to be really cool. But that's the tentative plan right now. And I also write a book called Diary of Night, and you can find out more about it at diaryofnight.com. And Phil's not the only, amazing podcaster that I annoy on a weekly basis. That would be also Kevin Joseph, writer of Tart. We get together every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and welcome some comic book Kickstarter creators into the house and talk to them about their live projects on Kickstarter to try to, promote indie comics on the Kickstarter platform. So that's called Explain Yourself, and you can check that out every Friday night. It's a lot of fun. And finally, obviously you have great taste because you're here listening to us. That must mean you love Quasar as well, just like we do. And if you want to find out more about Quasar, you can go to the Quantum Zone, which is quantumzone.org.
Hey, boys, you look at the party? I love the party. I hope it's going somewhere nice.
And of course.
I, of course, love Hal Jordan.
Of course.
Of course. All right, kids. Thank you for joining us again in 1 week. Green Lantern 165 through 167. We're almost there.
Sorry.
I remember when we started number 1.
It was only 2 years ago. Wait, what number are we on right now? 112. Yeah, so it's been over 2 years. We didn't have our 2-year anniversary. We should have had our 2-year anniversary celebration with 104.
No, that's true. All right, kids, come back next time. And remember, be nice to your friends and their fathers. Good night.